Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 220, which I'm titling Interlude. And it is an interlude in the sense that the story will return next week. We'll have more of Nadra then. But for now, I'm going to just talk a little bit about something that happened to me recently. So we had, and by we, in this case, I mean my wife and I, had a few days off coming up. Her schedule was changing, and so she ended up having this sort of weird middle of the week long break where it's like a little over about half a week long. And since I had my birthday recently, she suggested that we just get out of town for a few days. And so I said, that sounds great. She went on Airbnb, we picked a place, and we went. And it was lovely. I'll get to it in a minute. But first I wanted to say, this has never really happened for me before. My late wife and I, we barely had a honeymoon. We were young when we got married. We were like 23, 24. And we were still getting ourselves settled. We didn't have really any money. So, her family, fortunately, has some money, and so they basically took care of the wedding, but we didn't have any money for like a honeymoon. So we barely scraped enough together so that on the way back home, because we got married like in her hometown of Portland, but we weren't living there at the time. And so on the way back, we spent one night and watched a play in Ashton, Oregon. Yeah, the Play City. Anyway. And it was great. Actually, we saw Richard III, and it was really good. This is years ago. This is like 1993, but it was basically a one night, and then we had to drive the whole next night and get back to Sacramento, which is where we were living at the time. And so, it wasn't really much of a honeymoon, if at all. And then after that, we never really had just a holiday, just the two of us to get away together. Even we had about so we had about 8-9 years before Declan was born. But because we were sort of, like I say, we were sort of getting our feet under us, didn't have a lot of money, so whenever we did something vacation-y, it was always visiting relatives, essentially. That was pretty much it. Even if we were going someplace other than one of their houses, we were still going there and then meeting our family there. Nothing wrong with it. But I'd never really experienced just myself and my spouse out for a vacation, just, together. And so this was a really nice little treat. I don't think either of us are considering this our actual honeymoon, because we did get married almost exactly a year ago. And because of COVID, we had plans originally, of course, to go somewhere. And then, COVID happened and we just couldn't go anywhere. We tried a couple of different things and just, it's just not happening. We're still hoping to get like a honeymoon sort of trip happen, but it keeps getting pushed off because, the variants are coming and borders are reclosing, and, we're not even going anywhere really fancy. We're just hoping to go to Canada because she's from Western Canada, has never really had a chance to go to Eastern Canada really, and wants to check that out. And I'm excited by that. I think that's a great place to go. I'm really hoping we can do it. And that's going to be like our, real honeymoon. So this, was a couple days away, but it wasn't, not exactly a honeymoon. But in many ways, it's like it felt very honeymoonish. And also, in many ways, it was just like, it was even better than honeymoon for me because, we went to a place where we already knew a little bit. We'd both been there, at least she'd been there once, and then I'd been there a few times. And this is in Westport, and my sister and her wife had a condo there for a while. And so we went there, many times because, not too far away and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, So we went to Westport, not to her condo. That's not there. They don't own it anymore. And this place just was a little spot kind of outside of Westport, actually. But anyway, we got there, and in some ways, it was very, we kept it kind of simple. We didn't eat out at every meal. We brought some food with us. And in some ways we did many of the same things that we do anyway. So we, like our one of our things that we do together is we do not jigsaw puzzles, crossword puzzles, New York Times crossword puzzle. She had done it before, and she really enjoyed doing it. Not so much alone, but she enjoyed doing it with some coworkers. COVID has sort of messed that up for her as well. So she and I have been doing it, and I've really enjoyed it. I've never really done the New York Times crossword puzzle, or really too many crossword puzzles before this at all. And I'm actually getting, reasonably good at them. I'm never going to be on that level that you see some people able to, sort of just spew it out and do it in ink on paper and stuff like that. That's not me. It's not her either, but we're sort of the same level, but we have kind of like different strengths in terms of what we know, so it works out really well. And so we did a lot of that. We took a lot of walks. There's a lot of nice beaches there. We took several walks on beaches, went to Westport, looked and saw what shops and restaurants were still there, and kind of reported back to Brandon and Steph, who hadn't been there in a while, because they were kind of curious, like, if some of their favorites were still there, or if there's anything interesting that's new or whatever. And it was very romantic, and I feel like we got a lot closer in many ways. It's only been a year, but you can always work on communication and closeness and everything. And it was really nice to just get away, not do anything too fancy. We weren't going to any museums. There's no museums there. Well, there probably is, but we didn't go to any of them. I think there's like a mermaid museum or something like that we were told about, but did not go to. It was just smooching and eating and taking walks and doing crossword puzzles and then having some relaxation time. And I brought my guitar because I'm still trying to learn to play the guitar. And it was lovely. And like I say, other than the walks, on the beaches and a few of the other out and about things, a lot of it was just right there in the little room, and we could have done that at home. But it was so nice to get it and do it someplace else and try, but just enjoy a bit of closeness somewhere else, somewhere that's not home, which kind of makes us, focus a little bit more on the fact that we're together and that we're spending time with each other overall. And this was, like I say, nothing I had ever done before. So it felt really interesting and really good. And I enjoyed it immensely. Highly recommend doing it. Like if like you always find yourself like going to holidays and it's always filled with all kinds of activities, consider, like, if you have a partner, just going somewhere just for a few days, not so long that that you get tired of it or whatever, but just for a few days, and just spend time together, because like it really focuses it and makes it feel like, like it felt like closeness time, like, we were spending a lot of time together. Like, even just doing the puzzle felt more intimate than it did when we were just, doing it at her house or over the phone or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I highly recommend it. It made a great little sort of interlude. Everyone's sort of crazy. The whole world's kind of up in turmoil right now with COVID and everything else that's gone kind of haywire. And it was great to just get away for a few days. It was not terribly expensive. She paid for the room as sort of my birthday gift. I drove and bought the gas, and we sort of split the food, whatever. It doesn't matter. It was, very affordable. It was a lot of fun. And like I say, it made a great little moment, just so where we can be with each other, focus on each other, and then get back to reality in a with sort of like a renewed closeness, I would say. So highly recommend it. Doesn't have to be Westport, Washington. It can be anywhere that just you like, that you would like to physically be, and maybe look around, see a bit of nature, and don't. I wouldn't like even the nature walks like would have been too much if we'd been going on actual like hikes, multi-hour hikes. It wasn't about that either. It wasn't about doing anything too specific. It was about being together more than anything else, and getting away together, which allowed us to sort of focus on each other, and it was absolutely wonderful. It was like, obviously, I've been to places that are, if someone says, well, what's the most interesting place you've ever been to, obviously it's not going to be Westport. But in terms of just like what has been like the most romantic, vacation you've ever had, or what's the most intimate vacation you've ever had, this would be it. This would be it, and I highly recommend it. And I think that's enough for this show. So if you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and Music, copyright 2021, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Normally I'd say here, characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical, but this is a non-fiction episode, so we'll just leave it there. Thanks for listening.